Hey there, welcome back to DARKPEN. Tonight, we're diving into some seriously creepy Japanese folklore. This is an old school story that Japanese grandparents used to scare the crap out of their grandkids. I pour my heart and soul into creating this content for you. From research to editing, it's all done by me. To keep making more amazing stuff, I need your support. Hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps me grow this channel and bring you even better content. Stick around, it's gonna get weird. About 500 years ago, the Lord of Kikuchi, Kyushu, had a man named Isegai Higazaemon Taketsuru in his service. Higazaemon had inherited extraordinary abilities such as archery and horsemanship from his warrior ancestors, which were ingrained in his blood from birth. Even before reaching adulthood, he had surpassed his masters in the arts of swordsmanship, archery, and spear fighting, establishing himself as a seasoned and skilled warrior. During the Ikko uprisings 1429 to 1441, Higazaemon displayed his prowess and was repeatedly praised. However, when the Kikuchi clan was destroyed, he was left without a master. He could have served another lord, but since his goal was not personal advancement or gain, and loyalty to his former master still lingered in his heart, he decided to abandon worldly life. He shaved his head and became a monk, taking the Buddhist name Kairyū, and set out on a journey. But the warrior spirit of Kairyū lived on beneath the monk's robe. Fearless of danger and indifferent to hardship, he ventured where other monks dared not go, inviting people to the sacred path of Buddha. It was a time of hardship and instability, and even for monks, solitary travel was not without risk. On his first long journey, Kairyū's path led him to the land of Kai. One night, while traveling through the mountains of that region, he reached a desolate place several miles from the nearest villages and was caught in the darkness. He decided to spend the night under the starry sky and found a suitable spot covered in grass right beside the mountain path where he lay down. He always welcomed discomfort. When there was no other option, a hard rock was his bed and a tree root his pillow. His flesh and muscles were like steel. He never complained about dew, dampness, rain, frost, or snow. Before he had even laid his head down, a man with a large axe and a bundle of firewood on his shoulders appeared. Seeing Kairyū, the man stopped, watched him for a moment, then asked in surprise, "Who are you, lying there like that? There are many monsters around here. Aren't you afraid of evil creatures?" Kairyū replied with a smile, "My friend, I'm like water and clouds. That's why I'm not afraid of evil creatures, whether they're fox spirits, raccoon spirits, or any other kind. In fact, I like deserted places because they are good for contemplation. I'm used to sleeping under the open sky and have learned never to worry about my life." The woodcutter said, "A monk who chooses such a place to rest must be a great man. But this is a notorious place, a very bad place. There's a saying that the wise avoid danger. Sleeping in a place like this is truly dangerous. My house is a humble hut, but I beg you to come with me. There's not much to eat, but at least there's a roof and you can rest your head without worry." The woodcutter insisted, and his kindness touched Kairyū's heart, so he accepted the woodcutter's offer. The woodcutter led him along a narrow path through the mountain forest. It was a dangerous path, full of ups and downs. Sometimes they crossed valleys, sometimes they had to step on slippery tree roots, and sometimes they had to climb over rocks and boulders. Finally, they reached a flat area at the top of a mountain. A full moon shone above them. Kairyū looked up and saw a thatched hut with a light inside. The woodcutter led him to the back of the hut, where there were bamboo pipes that carried water from a nearby river to the hut. Kairyū and the woodcutter washed their feet in the water in front of the house. There was a vegetable garden and bamboo shoots behind the house, and a cedar forest beyond that. In the distance, beyond the forest, a waterfall could be seen cascading down from a high place, shimmering like a long white robe in the moonlight. When Kairyū and his guide entered the hut, they saw 4 men and women sitting around a small fire, warming their hands. Upon seeing the monk, they bowed respectfully and greeted him with exemplary politeness. Kairyū was surprised that such poor people, living in such a desolate and remote place, could possess such admirable manners and etiquette. He thought to himself, "These are good people. They must have learned from someone who knows good manners." Then he turned to the owner of the house, whom the others called Aruji, and said, "With such kind words from your friends and the impeccable manners I've seen, I can't believe you've always been a woodcutter. You must have had a name and reputation in the past." The woodcutter replied with a smile, "Yes, that's true. Today my life is as you see it, but I used to have a name and reputation. My story is the story of a man who fell victim to his own mistakes. I served a lord and had an important position and responsibility, but I fell into the trap of wine and women. My eyes were blinded and I behaved badly. My selfishness destroyed my home and caused the ruin of many lives. As punishment for those sins, I was exiled here for a long time. Now my prayer is to somehow atone for my sins and revive the name, reputation, and home of my ancestors. But it doesn't seem like my prayer will be answered. I can only try to be sincere in my repentance and help those who are less fortunate, as a way to make amends for my bad deeds." Kairyū liked the owner's sincerity and confession, and said to him, "I've seen many people who were negligent in their youth but later walked the right path with all their heart. The sacred books say that those who were strong in evil became strong in good through the power of repentance and determination. I have no doubt that your heart is inclined towards goodness. I want to bring happiness to you somehow. I will pray for you tonight that you will gain the ability to overcome your past mistakes." Kairyū said this and wished the owner a good night. The owner showed him to a small room with a ready-made bed. Then everyone went to sleep, but Kairyū stayed awake and prayed by the light of a paper lantern. He continued praying for a long time. Then he opened the window of the small room to look at the view one last time before going to bed. It was a beautiful night. There were no clouds in the sky and no wind. The bright moonlight cast clear, black shadows of the trees on the ground, and the dew on the vegetables and grasses in the garden sparkled. Small bells rang. The sound of the nearby waterfall reached from the depths of the dark night. Hearing the sound of the water, Kairyū became thirsty. He remembered the bamboo pipe at the back of the house and went quietly to get some water without disturbing the sleeping people. He gently pushed open the fusuma and saw the 5 inhabitants of the house sleeping, but none of them had heads. For a moment, he thought a crime had been committed and was stunned, but then he realized that there was no blood and it didn't look like anyone had cut off their heads. He said to himself, "Either the spirits have deceived me and created an illusion, or I've come to the house of the Rokurokubi." He had read in the Shushinki that if someone found the headless body of a Rokurokubi and moved it elsewhere, the head would never be able to return to its body, and the book also said that if the head returned and saw that its body had been moved, it would hit the ground 3 times, gasp for breath in terror, and finally die. Kairyū said to himself, "If these are Rokurokubi, they are agents of evil. Therefore, I must do what is written in that book." He took the owner's feet and pulled his body to the window, throwing it outside. Then he went to the back door of the house and found it closed, so the heads must have come out through the smoke hole in the roof. He opened the door carefully and went into the garden. He cautiously approached the forest on the other side of the garden. He could hear voices from inside the forest. He hid from one tree shadow to another, moving towards the source of the sound. Then, hidden behind a tree trunk, he saw the 5 heads flying through the air, jumping from one side to the other, talking and laughing. The heads were eating insects they found on the ground and among the branches of the trees. After a while, the owner's head stopped eating and said, "The traveling monk who came tonight has a fat body, doesn't he? If we eat him together, we'll be full. I was wrong to talk to him. Because of those words, he prayed for my soul. When he prays, it's very difficult to get close to him and we can't touch him. But now it's almost morning, he must be asleep. Let someone go and spy on him." Immediately, another head, that of a young woman, flew towards the hut like a bat. After a few minutes, she returned with a disturbed expression and a hoarse voice, screaming, "The traveling monk isn't here. Something worse has happened. He's taken Oroji's body. I don't know where he's gone with it." Hearing this, Oroji's head looked terrifying in the moonlight. His eyes bulged, his hair stood on end, and he gnashed his teeth. Then he let out a scream and tears streamed down his face. "If he's moved my body, I'll die," Oroji roared. "It's all that monk's fault. Before I die, we'll get him. We'll tear him apart. There he is, behind that tree. That coward." Oroji and 4 other Rokurokubi heads flew at the monk. But the strong monk uprooted a sapling and used it to beat them back. 4 heads fled. But Oroji was relentless and finally sank his teeth into the monk's sleeve. The monk grabbed Oroji's hair and beat him, but Oroji wouldn't let go. Eventually, Oroji died, still clamped onto the monk's sleeve. The monk returned to the hut with the head hanging from his sleeve. Inside, 4 Rokurokubi had reattached their heads and were sitting. When they saw him, they screamed and fled. As dawn approached, the monk knew the Rokurokubi's power would weaken. He looked at the head hanging from his sleeve and laughed. "A Rokurokubi head," he said. He continued his journey and eventually reached the city of Suwa. With the head dangling from his sleeve, he walked down the main street. Women fainted and children screamed. The local enforcers arrested him and threw him in jail. They thought the head was a murder victim who had bitten the killer's sleeve. But the monk just smiled and said nothing. When he was brought before the judge, he was asked to explain why he had a head hanging from his sleeve. The monk laughed and said, "I didn't put this head here. It attacked me. It's a Rokurokubi head. I only killed it in self-defense." He told the whole story, but the judges didn't believe him. They found him guilty and sentenced him to death. But one old judge disagreed. He examined the head and found red writing on the neck. He said, "This is a Rokurokubi. Books say Rokurokubi have red writing on their necks. This man is telling the truth." The old judge turned to the monk and said, "You're a brave man. You're more like a warrior than a monk. Were you ever a samurai?" Kairyū replied, "That's right. Before I shaved my head, I wielded a bow and arrow. I feared neither man nor demon. Back then, my name was Isegai Taketsura, and I was from Kyushu. Maybe some of you remember that name." When he said that name, a murmur of admiration ran through the crowd. Many of them remembered him. Those who had been judging him just moments ago became his friends, treating him with brotherly affection. They took him to the governor's mansion where he was warmly welcomed and given many gifts before being allowed to leave. As he left Suwa, Kairyū was happier than any monk in the world. He took the head with him. The next day, as he was leaving Suwa, a robber stopped him and demanded he strip. Kairyū did as he was told. That's when the robber first saw the head hanging from his sleeve. Even though he was brave, he was startled. He dropped the clothes and jumped back. Then he yelled, "What a monk! You're even more wicked than me. I've killed people, but I don't carry their heads around in my sleeve. Okay, monk, we're cut from the same cloth. I can't help but admire you, but I think I could use this head. I could scare people with it. Will you sell it to me? Give me your clothes, and I'll give you 5 ryo." Kairyū replied, "If you're so keen on it, you can have both the head and the clothes. But this isn't a human head. It's a monster's. If you buy it and something bad happens, don't say I didn't warn you." The robber shouted, "What a strange monk! You kill people and then joke about it. But I'm serious. Here, take my kimono and here's the money. Give me the head. Let's drop the act." Kairyū said, "Here you go. I'm not joking. If something weird happens, remember it's because you were foolish enough to buy a monster's head." Kairyū laughed and left, and so the robber became the owner of the head and the clothes. For a while, he pretended to be an evil monk and robbed people. But when he heard stories about the head near Suwa, he got scared that the Rokurokubi spirit would curse him. He decided to return the head to where it came from and bury it with the body. He found the abandoned hut in the mountains of Kai, but no one was there. He couldn't find the headless body, so he buried the head in the forest behind the hut. Then he prayed for the Rokurokubi spirit and performed a ritual. And that's the story of the Rokurokubi's gravestone, which people say you can still see today. Alright guys, that's a wrap on the Rokurokubi. Did that freak you out as much as it freaked me out? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this tale, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories. Thanks for watching.